pace has dropped in a new round of SD. Wow, the hair is out of control this morning, and we're not live at the brew house. It's back into the studio. Man, I'm going to have to put some water on this at some point. I thought it was going to be a lot better off than it was, but it is not. So here, I've got to fix this, or I'm going to drive myself crazy. Okay, so there. No, I don't want to do that. Let's see. Where's my local? See, now this is what happens this morning. Okay, so settings. All right, video. No, profile. How about there? There we go. And it's that compared to this. And we go here. You know, it's amazing what happens when you sit there and you're thinking everything is going to be back to the way it was, but it's not. But anyway, it's a Monday, not a shock. Okay, and we're back to being me. Hi, it's a new round of SDH AM. John here, you there. Thanks for dropping by. And wow, Alex, man, I'm going to save that one. Well, what I may do is I may just use the headline and then, man, it is a Monday. All right. So I'm gonna just click on the story that intrepid producer Alex has brought in this morning. So it's from Reuters. Yeah, it's definitely a Monday. It's a Monday when. Okay, so yeah. Wow. Okay. I'm just going to read the headline. Probably we'll get into it more on SOT tonight. A South Korean woman, this is from our friends at Reuters. A South Korean woman who demanded money from national team captain Yoon-min Son, claiming she was pregnant with his child, was sentenced to 4 years in jail on Monday for extortion, according to the Yonhap news agency. Wow, that's a Monday story. If ever there was, it's a Monday story. Yes, it's going to be one of those days. I can already feel it. John, here, you there. Here's what we got today. I think that was probably opening kickoff by default. We've got coming up in a bit. I think Abe Gordon's going to be joining us. We'll break down MLS Cup. Second half hour of this hour, we'll break it down even more so. We'll go over the goals. We've got some sound from Thomas Mueller, and we will go over a key moment that was, honestly, I think if that moment had actually occurred instead of the close call, probably would be discussing things a little bit differently this morning. But we'll go over what happened on the weekend, Saturday afternoon at the Erector Set. And Messi and friends end up with the title in Major League Soccer. Like I said, we've got all the goals. We got that moment that we're going to discuss. We have some sound from Thomas Mueller. Get into that this morning. So Bart Keeler is going to be joining us 10 o'clock, SoccerForUSPod. We'll break down everything there and Yanks Abroad, cards and calls, and all that stuff. 10:30. And this is going to be kind of cool. 10:30 this morning, there are championship games in college soccer going on today, and it's in the NAIA. And we've been chronicling the runs of the teams in our footprint for Red Clay Soccer Report, powered by our friends at NoFo Brewing. We were following Georgia Gwinnett. We were following Life U, following Truett McConnell. The championship games are going on in the NAIA today in Pensacola and Orange Beach. At 10:30, we are going to be catching up with the head coach of Grandview, Iowa, 3 o'clock this afternoon. It is going to be the men's championships in Orange Beach, and it is Grandview and 11-seed WVU Tech. I was about to say West Virginia University Tech, but WVU Tech, so I'm not here all day mentioning the name of the school. So at 3 o'clock this afternoon, weather permitting, Grandview, Iowa taking on WVU Tech, the 11-seed. Grandview head coach David Groves is going to be joining us at 10:30. We're going to get a breakdown of the season, what this tournament has been like. You go from the second round action on November 22nd to playing roughly 4 games in a week. And so we'll discuss what that's like for Grandview and the Vikings as they get ready for WVU Tech in Orange Beach at 3 o'clock. I think later today we might be catching up with some of the women's championship combatants. Cumberland's Kentucky, I believe, is going to be one of those. We'll catch up with them later this afternoon. We'll play that tomorrow. Championship game on the women's side is earlier today. I think it's at 1 o'clock Eastern time. So their schedule was kind of compressed a little bit. And so we'll be hearing tomorrow from WVU Tech and from Cumberland's Kentucky on the women's side, just to kind of give you an idea about the NAIA in and of itself. And we'll be getting into tomorrow, and I guess this will be the rundown of the week. Tomorrow we'll break down what happened in the NCAA Women's Championship Division I, because that's tonight, and it's FSU. It's FSU is in that, and so KCD, if she's not stuck in an airport or missing a connecting flight, should be catching up with us tomorrow morning, 9:15. Tomorrow, also, it looks like it's going to be Chris Doran who's going to be joining us at 10 o'clock. It was the first game for Wilfred Nancy as head coach at Celtic. And Chris had some comments about Wilfred's post game that I think that folks might need to be reminded about. And Jared is reminding us about it too. And we're all discussing Wilfred Nancy, but we're bringing Chris Doran, the voice of Columbus Crew, tomorrow, and we'll break down Wilfred Nancy's departure. Let's see what he thinks about Laurent Courtois as the SDH named replacement for Wilfred Nancy. And we'll get into NCAA Women's Championship tomorrow, Division I. We'll get into Columbus Crew, Wilfred Nancy, considering that happened in the weekend. That's going to be tomorrow, catching up with the NAIA folks tomorrow as well. So that's Tuesday. Wednesday, I'm not here. It's the beginning of the championships for high school football, and so we have our big organizational meeting. But it'll be Tyler, it'll be Dylan, and we're also catching up with the Vancouver 2026 lead committee. And so we're catching up with their top of the chart, and we're going to get a breakdown of how Vancouver is getting along with their progress, getting ready for 2026. They have a big press conference today at one of the sites that has been completed that is going to be integral to Vancouver's presentation and their infrastructure. So we're going to catch up with them tomorrow, and we're going to run that on Wednesday. So Wednesday will be Tyler, Dylan, and catching up on Vancouver 2026. Thursday, our friend Glenn Davis is going to join us and break down MLS Cup in Houston, World Cup in Houston, MLS season ending. We have Thursday is the beginning of the free agency window, I believe. Is it Wednesday or Thursday? Wednesday's free agency. Thursday is re-entry and end-of-year waivers at the end of business. So we start our off-season windows and plots and plans for Major League Soccer. So Glenn Davis is going to join us on Thursday at 9 o'clock. Nino and Nico are going to join us on Thursday. And then Friday, we'll get you squared away for the NCAA Men's Championship and the semifinals. Trying to see if we can find out if we can catch up with Braden Dunham from Furman, because Braden Dunham had that big 45-yard bomb that advanced Furman in a 1-0 match. And so we'll see if we can catch up with life at Furman, get you ready for the NCAA championships and anything else going on along the way. Emory loses a heartbreaker in the championship to Wash U, their conference rival, 2-1. So great run for the Emory Eagles on the women's side, great run on the men's side as well. So, Corey Greiner and Sue Patberg, great seasons for them, making it deep into the division, into the Division III championships in the NCAA as well. So that'll be recapped this week as we wrap up Red Clay for the next 2 weeks. That's what we're going to be discussing there when it comes to everything here in this footprint. So that's the show this morning. It is MLS Cup, Cards and Calls, Yanks Abroad, and the NAIA Men's Championship, catching up with Grandview, Iowa head coach David Groves as they get ready at 3 o'clock this afternoon. And then whatever's on your mind, including stories like the one that Alex brought in this morning. So morning, Alex, morning, David. So David's back from youth soccer in Raleigh. I imagine it was probably like 12 degrees and really nasty and rainy. So that was I'm just glad that you're back. Glad you're here in one piece here this morning. So, all right, whatever's on your mind, lay it on me. We do have some news this morning from the about to be happening midweek in the Champions League. And as of this morning, Mo Salah has been left out of Liverpool's Champions League squad, traveling to face Inter Milan. So he drops the interview where he says that he's being thrown under the bus by Liverpool. And I think this is probably accelerating his exit in the January window. Unused sub for Liverpool, started the last 3 from the bench. Also, he claimed he no longer had a relationship with manager Arne Slot. So now Arne Slot has decided to leave Salah at home for Tuesday's Champions League clash with Inter at the San Siro. And Slot has the full backing of the Liverpool board over Salah's outburst. And with making £400,000 a week, he's got 19 months left on the deal. Now major doubts on the future, likely to be subjected of renewed interest from the Saudi pro in January. Al Ittihad failed in a 150 million pound move for Salah in September 23. Al Hilal are believed to be keen. Talk Sport adds an interesting one. San Diego FC, Talk Sport says, are also keen on the Liverpool winger. Can they afford him? I severely doubt it. But that's what Talk Sport is saying this morning. So it appears that Mo Salah, after dropping the throwing me under the bus interview after the match, he says that Liverpool wants him gone. He gets the new deal coming off the bench now. I'm very disappointed. This is after the 3-3 draw. This is Salah after the match. I'm very disappointed. I've done so much for this club. Everyone has seen it in recent years, especially last season. I don't know why I'm sitting on the bench. Feels like the club is throwing me under the bus. That's how I feel. I think it's very clear that someone will blame me. The club promised me a lot in the summer, but I've been on the bench for 3 games. I can't say they've kept their promises. On his relationship on Arne Slot, quote, many times I have a good relationship with the manager, but suddenly we don't have a relationship anymore. I don't know why. It seems to me someone doesn't want me in the club. It's not acceptable for me. I don't know why that always happened. I don't know why that happened always to me. I don't get it. I think if somewhere else the club will protect its player, I don't know why I'm in that situation now. But again, it's how I see it. It's like you throw him under the bus because he's a problem in the team now, but I don't think I'm the problem. I've done so much for this club to get the respect I want to get, and I don't have to go every day fighting for my position because I earn it. People will say you're not bigger than I'm not bigger than anyone. I'm just earning my position. This is football. I don't believe it. I believe in this club. I would say since I came to the Premier League, I don't think anybody scored more goals than me or assists in the whole Premier League. So it's a 3-3 thriller, and Mo Salah is not happy. And he's going to be left behind as they go to Inter Milan. We're not leaving this guy behind. He might be leaving us behind because of his calves and his running, because he's better at it than I am. Morning, sir. How are the Cavs?
We're doing pretty good. I've actually taken the whole week off to let the hamstring and all that settle down. So we're going to start running again tomorrow. So we'll see how it goes.
All right. Last match of the year. Plus, we do have some secondary the off-season windows and things that we have to look at in Major League Soccer. I imagine that you were paying attention to college football and some game at Mercedes-Benz Stadium that folks were kind of keeping an eye on and realizing that Alabama couldn't run the ball on the University of Georgia. But MLS Cup was going on at the same time at the Erector Set, and Messi and friends, it was tight for a while, and then Messi and friends get goals 2 and 3, and they get the championship, and Jordi Alba and Sergi Busquets, they go out on top.
Yeah, it kind of played out a little bit like what we discussed. I thought Miami getting the first goal was obviously huge for them, kind of a weird little redirected own goal situation, but put the ball in dangerous spots and good things can happen. And that's where it was. I thought Vancouver did a great job to get back into it. And once they leveled it, they stayed level for the better part of 40 or 50 minutes or whatever it was until obviously Messi took over on that second goal, a beautiful ball and a nice finish. And then obviously in desperation times, Miami caught a third. And it just goes back to how I view the pursuit of Lionel Messi and what the goal was when bringing him over to MLS, but more specifically for Inter Miami is just, I understand the business aspect of all of this. And that's great for some, but for the fan base and for Messi himself and the team, for the manager, it's about eventually getting a trophy, and that's what they did. And so from whatever happens here forward for Lionel Messi, there was always going to be this moment where it's like, if he doesn't win a title in MLS, is it viewed as a failure? For a competitive reason, obviously not for the business aspect of things. You can check that off now. And now I think it's one of those things for Inter Miami where no matter how it goes the rest of whatever time Messi has left, he accomplished what you brought him over here to do. And I think that's important.
So now you end up with the off-season dates, and that kicks in this week. Free agency opens up on Wednesday. Thursday, you have re-entry and waivers, and then next week you have the re-entry section 2, and then the super draft a week from Thursday. How busy? Who do you think? Let me phrase it this way: who do you think will be the busier clubs, if anybody, when it comes to the staring contest of waivers and free agency or anything like that?
Well, I think Miami is going to look at who they're losing, who's retiring, and who they want to pair with Lionel Messi, and that's what's so interesting is you sometimes you just catch random names from either eras gone by or just that want to line up next to Messi, whether it's his former teammates in Europe or whether it's an up and comer out of Argentina who knows Messi from national team stuff. Certainly, they're look, they got one, and that's great, but you still have Lionel Messi. And so you're going to try and replace what you're losing to retirement alongside of him. So I think they'll be interested. I think the same big money teams who always kind of are invested, I think LAFC will take a look at it and see where they can spend. I think the Pacific Northwest squads, including Vancouver, but Seattle as well, will take a look and see. And so it'll be really interesting. Is anyone moving into a new building? Like Chicago moving into the new stadium? Not yet.
They got a couple of years. They got to build it.
Always look for people moving into new stadiums to try and make a splash when they do. So we'll keep an eye out for that in a couple of years then.
Yeah. And so we'll keep looking at free agency and see who's got the AM and who's got everything that's there. One of the other things that happened, I don't know if you know this, Abe, but there's this tournament that's going to be coming to the United States and Canada and Mexico, like in the summer.
Mm-hmm.
And I've heard
I've heard of some rumblings recently. Something.
I think it's a big deal. And so there was this rather large draw that happened on Friday, and now we know who's going where and who's got what and all these kinds of things. Atlanta gets their matchups, and apparently Atlanta gets to be the hub for Spain in the group stage. 2 Spain matches, and we do get a couple of interesting minnows. Uzbekistan gets to make a visit. Cabo Verde gets to come by and visit as well. What did you think of the pomp and circumstance and who got what, and Atlanta ending up with the matches that they got?
I think I'll start with the U.S. national team, and obviously we don't quite know the 4th team yet. It'll be involved in the playoff and out of the playoff. It really, you feel pretty comfortable with anyone except for Turkey. They're probably the best of that group, but look, there's just no excuses for Pochettino at this point. Based on the draw, based on your group, you should obviously win the group, but minimum finishing second and safely getting out of the group. Even if even a 3rd place finish that advances you would be disappointing, and who knows what happens in the next rounds. You can erase 3rd place disappointment by winning a knockout game, right? But I do think it's an attractive group for the U.S. men's national team. It is kind of a bummer here in Atlanta that you've got the caveat of obviously many of us are rooting for U.S. But we also do want to root for Miggy. And so you have to settle up with yourself there to it's like in real football and fantasy football. We're like, I want my team to win, but I wouldn't mind if it's 45-42, I got the other team's quarterback. It's kind of one like that. So it'll be interesting to see Miggy go against the U.S. men's national team and how he looks and what we see from him normally in Atlanta versus our country. And but then you look at the games in Atlanta and you figured you'd get a couple of European powers here and there, just based on climate control and timed kickoffs, stuff like that. So catching Spain twice is cool. And yeah, to me, it really didn't matter who the teams were. It's the World Cup, John. There's not like some lackadaisical fan base that's like, we're going to sit this one out. We're not going to send our fans over to the U.S. or to Atlanta. There's so many stories. Obviously, many teams like Spain think they can win it. They're going to all come here. And if anything, I think it increases the chances of Spanish fans coming because they say, hey, we can come and just kind of bunker. And we can be in Atlanta for 5-6 days. We don't have to go across the country multiple times, and we can watch 2 of our team's matches, and then we'll figure it out from there. I think that makes it immensely more simple for international travels to be able to do that. And obviously the airport here makes it immensely easier to get to wherever your next stage game would be, next group or next knockout stage game would be as well. So look, I just, the place is going to be packed. It's just another opportunity for the Mercedes-Benz Stadium to showcase what so many people who watch Atlanta United already know. But I mean, you've heard the commentary, and I look forward to it again from Portugal and some of the other teams that are coming here in friendlies, and some of the other against US, but also some of the other friendlies are going to be played at the Benz in the lead up to the World. I just haven't seen the stadium before coming over, and I'm sure there's a thought of what the soccer stadiums, big ones, are like in Europe, and here's an opportunity to see what a big one is like here. And I think we've heard commentary before, people who are like, man, I didn't know it was really like this. So I'm excited for the world to see that.
Yep, and the rundown of the matches on the 15th, and Atlanta got noon kicks for their first three. And when you're plotting a grid like this, always remember about the teams that are participating. If it's a European club, add 5, because then that starts their late afternoon. So it's trying to balance a summer window in the eastern part of the United States with late afternoon, early evening windows in Europe when it comes to the clubs. Spain and Cabo Verde. I'm looking forward to Cabo Verde. Jason on Atlanta Soccer Tonight had an SDH exclusive having to deal with Pico Lopez, one of the defenders for Cabo Verde, who actually got his position there with the national team filing a LinkedIn conversation. So he has Cabo Verdean roots and ancestry, and so he applied through their LinkedIn page, and that was how he ended up getting the gig there with Cabo Verde. So you have that one on the 15th at noon. You have one of the pathways. UEFA Playoff D gets South Africa at noon Eastern. Then you have Spain and Saudi Arabia on the 21st. Morocco and Haiti on the 24th. So happy birthday to me at 6 o'clock Eastern time with Morocco and Haiti. A fantastic story with Haiti. And then on the 27th, you have another FIFA pathway going up against Uzbekistan, another minnow that's there. And I think if I remember Jason correctly, with the math that he had plotted, you could end up with Argentina back-to-back with your 2 matches after that in the knockouts. So that wouldn't stink either. So you'd have Spain twice, and if chalk happens, Argentina twice, leading to your last match that you would have of your 8.
Yeah, it just feels like a great collection of yes, the powers, but as you mentioned, and we talked about this before the field was drawn. Just I love the teams that haven't been in 60 years or 50 years or never, or the teams that are just for the first time ever, and it just those are the ones that you can expect, probably for me, the most amount of fans. And yes, like Spain is going to bring their fans, but Haiti and Cabo Verde, stuff like that, who they don't know if they'll ever get an opportunity to see them play in a World Cup again. And maybe with the new format, it'll become more likely for some of these squads, certainly. But there are teams that understand they're not winning, right? They're just here for the party. And those are the fan bases I'm going to be hanging out with.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the things that I think that I know that we're going to be impressing upon everyone is that help these minnows enjoy the experience. Enjoy the experience for who you have, and wherever your market is or wherever you're going to gravitate toward. Enjoy the experience for who you have. I know the kickoffs in the East Coast are going to be the earlier ones because you've got to gravitate once again toward the other time zones and make sure that the U.S. matches out west at 9 o'clock. They're going to have 9 o'clock kicks, 6 o'clock out west. And so it's all, you have to think of this in TV in 3 dimensions all at the same time. But just help those minnows and help those fan bases enjoy the experience and enjoy it yourself, because once again, you mentioned, is Cabo Verde going to make it ever again? Would Uzbekistan make it ever again? When you have these clubs that are in it, then it's a chance to experience this and show off your part of the world to everybody else. I just think that it's really cool with the minnows that come in, and it's a chance to enjoy it. It's not like they're going to sit there and go, no, we're playing at noon, I'm not interested.
Yeah, and I am really interested to see the feel of the city.
Yeah.
I was young when the Olympics were here in '96, so I don't really grasp transportation challenges or whatever it may be. But like I'm a working adult now, and like there are games that are just in the middle of the day, and it's trying to. I'm interested to see to what extent the city kind of shuts down, but there are going to be jobs that obviously have to get done, whether the World Cup is here or not. So I'm interested to see kind of how it feels, how it looks. But I'm sure it'll be a fun time. Hopefully, we have great weather. It'll be hot, but hopefully dry over those couple of weeks, and we can really blow it out.
And indoors as well. The matches are
Yes.
indoors. It's like the
Yes.
matches will be indoors. The rest of us on our way into Mercedes-Benz will probably have blown through about 2 or 3 T-shirts on the way in the door. So pack an extra round of clothing when you're out there celebrating.
Yeah, when you're tailgating, make sure to hydrate.
Yes.
Hydrate.
Yes, hydrate, as you are doing this morning. Where's the Chipper, by the way?
She's over here in the corner staring daggers at me.
Okay.
She's just looking.
Another couple of minutes.
Yeah.
Since you mentioned Chipper, can I go ahead and start my Dale Murphy rant or my
I mean, look, obviously he should be in. At no point did I expect he would get in through this committee and their requirements, along with some of the names that were being attached. So, yeah, I mean, we can get mad, but like, I'm not going to act surprised by it either.
Just it's to that point to where you're just kind of like, yeah, whatever, okay, fine. The way that you, Hall, have reacted so far, none of this kind of stuff should surprise, right?
Yeah, it's just this is a story that'll probably be repeated another 4 or 5 times. Obviously, we all think he should be in, but I don't have a ton of faith or confidence that people are going to put him in anytime soon.
Yep. All right. So what's on the rundown for you for the next week before we reconvene?
Just regular stuff, like you said. Well, now that the season is over, I personally am kind of watching a little bit here and there the college tournament, just kind of see what's going on, and we'll just wait to hear what sort of news Atlanta United can make when the time comes.
Absolutely true. As always, my friend, it's great to see you. Thanks for dropping by and batting leadoff on the Mondays that you do. And I know that Chipper's going to be staring at you. So go ahead and take care of Chipper and make sure that the environment is welcomed on a Monday as it should be.
I will do that, John. Appreciate you having me as always.
Be good. That's Abe Gordon, everybody. And so Abe bats leadoff. He hydrates. And then all of a sudden Chipper's like, oh, you're working. Time to take me outside. That's how this goes. So that's Abe Gordon, as always. Great to catch up with Abe. Bart Keeler joining us top of the hour. And then at 10:30, it's going to be David Groves, the head coach at Grandview, Iowa. They're going to be chasing after a championship later this afternoon against WVU Tech in the NAIA. So that's the rundown for today. So, yeah, with Bart, we'll go over the U.S. group. We'll go over their path. We'll go over Yanks Abroad. We'll go over cards and calls. So it'll be a jam-packed half hour with Bart coming up at the top of the hour. But as promised, it's time to look at MLS Cup. Yeah, and and I figured that that we might be having these kinds of discussions this morning because I'm over Dale Murphy not being in the hall. I'm really over it. I'm truly over it. And so, David, this morning, Murphy-Kent thing is odd. Career stats other than WAR and awards are the only comparison for those eras and how bad the Braves were compared to Kent's Giants and Indian squads. I mean, I look at the MVP vote this way. How would a club be without that particular individual on that roster? And how would Atlanta have been if they stuck with Dale Murphy behind the plate? Guy couldn't throw to second base on a line. Might be a 3-hopper or might be in the center field. How would it have been if they stuck Dale Murphy in catcher the entire time? But yeah, the whole thing with Dale Murphy and Don Mattingly too. I don't know when this committee actually popped up as an entity because I'm traditionally not used to seeing it. All of a sudden I hear about this contemporary era committee. And I'm like, okay, that's new. And so, of course, you still don't do the right thing. You don't vote in Dale Murphy. You don't vote in Don Mattingly, but you vote in Jeff Kent. So that's That's the rundown. This. Let me turn down the light because I think. Hang on. It's kind of shining off of everything this morning, so I apologize that I've ducked out of frame. Hang on. So where is it? All right. So 1, 2, 3, 4. All right. Let me. So now, that's a little better. Yeah. So full disclosure, I am a sucker for Ebbets Field flannels, and I'm also a sucker for old school stuff. I know that shocked you all, but Ebbets Field was running basically what amounted to a 70% off special. And I think it was Black Friday. And when I can get something for 70% off, I'm going to get something for 70% off. And this was part of what they had. I have a lot of their sweatshirts and stuff. So I legitimately ended up getting too much material. But once again, when you can get something for 70% off, and I can understand why this is it's a little clunky when you have to kind of wear it. But for those that are just listening, I have an old school LA Aztecs NASL Ebbets Field flannel sweatshirt, and it is making its maiden voyage today. And so it's the logo, the way that it was stitched on here is a bit cumbersome on the chest, but I'll take it. And like I said, when it's 70% off, I'll take it at 70% off. When I can get something for $30 that's like this, I'll take it. And that reminds me, I've got some other things behind me too that were part of that sale. And they got the puffy, they had like the puffy styrofoam trucker hats, like the old school trucker hats. And these ended up being like $5 a piece. So you got like your NOLA baby cakes, the NOLA baby cakes, that's $5. The Wichita Wranglers that you might remember from the Texas League, $5. And the McAllen Dusters out of McAllen, Texas, once again, $5. So yeah, Ebbets Field, they ran a sale. I couldn't resist. I'm a sucker, so I admit it. Yeah, so that was where one of my paychecks went on Black Friday, which went straight to our friends at Ebbets Field Flannels. So I blame them if I'm poor and I'm not able to purchase what I want for the holiday. So anyway, see, where is the trigger? It's like I'm trying to. Oh, it hid behind the friggin' table. Okay. There we go. All right. So I turned it down 5, and I think I probably should have turned it down 3. Ebbets Field Flannels, David. So if you look on the interwebs, they might still be doing their sale. I don't know. But this is where, like I said, give me the old school stuff and I'll buy it all day long. So yeah, Ebbets Field Flannels had their Black Friday sale. Keep an eye on them because they had a lot of stuff. And I had this big box that just ended up on the front stoop. And so that was where it was. Ebbets Field Flannels. Thank you, Del, for the public service there. Okay, enough about shopping for the moment anyway. All right, and I'm keeping an eye on things. That's the official term for other breaking news as we get into Champions League. So we'll keep an eye on all of that this morning as well. People are heading to Europe. We'll talk about it more tonight on SOT. I'm sure 8:00. And I don't know if we're from the brew house or not, considering conditions, but if Jason and I are at the brew house and Jarrett joins us from Utah and Nick joins us from parts unknown and you join us all the things, then that's where we are. So tonight, soccer over there, 8:00. We'll go over the story that Alex brought in this morning that might fit toward the kicker when we're discussing things like Mauro Icardi and Wanda Nara and our friend Nicholas Bentner. That story might go into the whole Bentner section at the tail. So that's it's kind of where we are. David picked up sock puppets gear. Okay, went to Burlington. Good deal. Let me see now. And I'm also a sucker for the minor league baseball stuff, but the nickname's got to be good. I mean, like Trash Pandas. Yeah, Eddie Kingston wearing a Trash Pandas jersey the other day on AEW. I mean, it can't be like weird. Was it the Lexington Humidity? and they sent jerseys to the Weather Channel, and Alex Wilson and Mike Bettis were wearing the alternate logoed Lexington franchise, which is going to be the Lexington Humidity for 6 home games this year. It's just weird. That's a little too much. That's a little too much for me. Anyway, all right, MLS Cup. Let's get into that before Bart joins us top of the hour when we discuss USMNT, the group stages, maybe cards and calls and stuff like that. So that's coming up in about 20 minutes. And then once again, head coach of Grandview, Iowa, joining us before their NAIA title game today against WVU Tech at 3 o'clock. David Groves joining us at 10:30 Eastern time. All right, let's get into your highlights. We'll get into stats and all the other things that we've got going on. So here's how it all broke down. First and foremost, and sometimes it might be more accurate than not. So early on in the match, and if you look at Michael Parkhurst's social media, he turned it into a teaching moment having to do with Ocampo and the own goal. And there were other moments as well. So go on Michael's social media and you can see him break down positioning and things like that. Angles, it's all about angles, he says. Early on, it was a moment for Messi and friends. They get the early goal on the board. Vancouver, an early hole. Once again, Jake and Taylor on Apple TV, courtesy of them and Major League Soccer. Perhaps if I take it off of mute. That's a Monday. Man, that is definitely a Monday. That is definitely a Monday for sure. All right, so why don't we try this again from the absolute beginning and go, hey, it's an own goal for Vancouver, Miami with an early lead. If we unmuted, perhaps? Oh, so I have to unmute and move the volume up. Okay. There. Now we're no longer muted. Take 3. Miami with an early lead.
Suarez. But look at Ocampo, top of your screen. He's too late to react. He's worried about Silvetti. He keeps Allende on. And this is where Miami's been absolute killer. 1, Allende's onside. And then 2, play a dangerous ball across. Ocampo with the own goal after keeping Allende on. And Miami is unplayable when they score.
Well, they were unplayable for a while, but Vancouver in the second half, down 1-0. They came up with the adjustments that Jesper Sorensen had at the break. Then Vancouver, you started to see Vancouver working down the attacking left-hand side, which means the right-hand side, which means you're chasing after Maxi Falcone. There was one call that maybe we'll talk about with Bart where Falcone and Ali Ahmed are kind of jostling as Ahmed makes the right-hand turn inside the 18. Ahmed goes down, no card, no call, no PK, stays at 1-0. Vancouver keeps the pressure going once again, courtesy of our friends at Apple TV and MLS.
They've been dictating the game at their tempo.
They still need to find their goal. Miami have led since the 8th minute. Sabi into White, over to Ahmed. Yes, it's in! A goal that was coming for Vancouver. Ali Ahmed levels MLS Cup. 1-1.
Then all hell breaks loose for Inter Miami. Play off of them, hold it strong, now pick up your head and lay it off. Ahmed doesn't hit it really hard enough and strong enough, but just this little bit of a bounce right there. Rios Novo makes the save, but off the inside of the post, and it's 1-1. You've got to have belief, and from the moment Thomas Miller stepped foot in Canada, they have believed that this is their year.
And it was 1-1. Vancouver kept the pressure on, and this is the moment I was talking about. I think if this goes in, we might be having a different discussion. And it was, I cannot remember the last time a post was this active in a long time, short of maybe the double post and PKs involving Tim Howard. this moment in the match, once again, courtesy of Apple TV and MLS Soccer, it was, more than 2 posts, but not quite 4, and not quite in the net for Vancouver.
And you can see why they beat Miami 2 times already this year.
They're coming for a second. It's Sabe. Still Sabe.
Oh my goodness!
Posts. And again. And now, somehow, still 1-1.
Smells blood in the water. Great little cut here by Segovia. And then Sabi just takes that little touch inside one post, outside the other, and then another deflection to hit the outside of the post. 3 in about the span of 7 seconds between Vancouver leading Inter Miami and Messi 2-1. My goodness. The game of finest margins, and we're seeing it.
Yes, the game of finest margins, and to be honest, it was 3 posts in 4 seconds, because I actually went and looked at it and timed it out. You have Sabi hit the post. Sabi goes to his left, shoots it through the defenders, hits the near post, caroms back, hits the far post, goes back out into play, and then you have Sabi crashing with Maxi Falcone, and it goes off of, Sabi gets to it, goes off of Falcone, off the post a 3rd time before it goes out for a corner. I think if that goes in, I think we might be having a different discussion. Obviously, then substitution patterns change for both clubs, but 3 posts in 4 seconds, Vancouver was that close to getting the lead at 2-1. But they don't. And so then you get your substitutions coming in at that point. You end up with Segovia coming in the 56th for Baltazar Rodriguez, who was on a yellow card and probably needed to leave because he was having discussions with Drew Fisher, and this might be a topic for Bart when he wanders in the door in about 15 minutes. Controlling the action around you in a game of import. It took a little bit for Drew Fisher to start dishing out the yellow cards, but then when he did, you end up with 1 from Falcone, 1 for DePaul, 1 for Baltazar Rodriguez, and then you end up with Laborda with 1, Blackman with 1, Ocampo with 1, Sebastian Berhalter with 1, Kubas with 1, White with 1. So 6 yellow cards for Vancouver from the starting 11, 3 for Messi and friends on the day. Then the substitutions continue. Yannick Bright comes in the 78th for Silvetti. Weigand comes in the 90th for Frey. For Vancouver, Jodrick Pupe comes in for Prizo. Ryan Gauld comes in for Ali Ahmed, double change in the 68th. Kenji Cabrera for Kubas in the 82nd after that yellow. And then Jaden Nelson comes in for Sabi in the 90th minute. But once again, triple post, you don't take advantage. That means the other guy does. And for years, everybody's been talking about Rodrigo de Paul being there to protect Lionel Messi. Messi rewards Rodrigo de Paul in the 71st minute. You're tied at 60. 10 minutes later, the tie is gone. It goes back to Inter Miami at 2-1. From MLS and Apple TV, here's the eventual game-winning goal, but at the time gave you a 2-1 lead with 20 to go.
Too far. Messi takes it off Kubas, slides it through. DePaul is in. DePaul!
Moment here for Kubas. You do all the hard work, you come back, you win possession, but then you lose the ball and it immediately falls to the feet of Lionel Messi. Rodrigo de Paul has been deemed throughout his entire career as the bodyguard of the GOAT, the bodyguard of Lionel Messi. Well, Lionel Messi just repaid his bodyguard tenfold with a wonderful ball in an unbelievable finish against the run of play. 2 Argentine World Cup winners connecting to give life back to Miami. Here at home, it's 2-1. But Vancouver's going to have an answer.
So you end up at 2-1 at that point, and you go back and look at this. Vancouver is still winning the ball in the middle third. They are still creating turnovers. But on that particular play, quick pass to Kubas of about 3 or 4 yards. Kubas has it, and then he tries to outlet it to his left, doesn't get a whole lot on it. And Lionel Messi, who has backtracked to help defend to win the ball back for Inter Miami, is the one that takes it away from Kubas. Then you have Messi go through traffic and then just loops it past the back line to Rodrigo de Paul, who has gone in between the two center backs, gets it past Takaoka, and it's 2-1 at that point. The fine margins that you have, and then you have the greatest player in the world. Like I said, Team Messi, that's why I said it, as opposed to Team CR40. Greatest player in the world, once again, and I know a lot of folks may say, oh, he's back playing defense. He does it a lot more than you might think. But in this key moment, he doubles back and creates an issue for Kubas. Kubas, I'm sure, is looking out of the corner of his eye and seeing someone coming, tries to send it out to his left, doesn't put a whole lot on it, and touches a little heavy. Messi gets to it, gets it to Rodrigo de Paul, loops it through, and de Paul gets it past Takaoka to make it 2-1. Then obviously you're chasing the game at that point, and you're going to end up with these moments in transition. The game's going to kind of get stretched as Vancouver's pressing for that equalizer in the final 20 minutes. Here's your last goal of the match that made it 3-1 once again. It's another moment for Mama, there goes that man again. Major League Soccer and Apple TV. 3-1, your eventual final.
Inter Miami will win the 2025 MLS Cup. This MLS Cup.
To watch players connect is something else, but to watch players connect at a level that is beyond description. Jordi Alba and Lionel Messi have made this game so fun to watch over the last 18 plus years. The best of friends, the best of competitors, and two of the best players connected to each other.
The ball from Jordi Alba to Lionel Messi, and his first thought is to chest it, turn it, flip it, and flick it, and then it goes to Allende for the goal. Lionel Messi on the day, SofaScore had him at an 8.5 with the 2 assists. 2 assists, expected assists, your XA, not to be confused with an XAbe. XA at a 0.5, 2 big chances created, 4 key passes, 1 cross. Accurate passing on the day, 17 of 19, 89%. So literally, 19 passes on the day for Lionel Messi, 17 connections, 89%. Passes in the opposition half, 10 of 12, 83%. 7 of 7 in his own half, and 1-on-1 on long balls on the day. So Lionel Messi, you know, we all kind of gravitate toward the goal scoring, but in this adjustment that Javier Mascherano made in sitting Suarez and having Allende and Silvetti up top, Messi playing a little deeper, to where you got 19-year-olds chasing after players and creating presses and everything and making it difficult to let the youngins run. And there's a reason that River Plate looks like they're chasing after Allende. Keeping Allende might be the one of the challenges for Inter Miami in the front office and Raul Sanllehi. So 46 touches on the day for Messi. 3 unsuccessful. 3 of 7 on the dribble, fouled twice. Defensive numbers for Messi, 1 for 1 on tackles, 6 recoveries, 6 of 11 on his ground duels, 1 for 2 in the air, 7 of 13 overall on the duels, and he did commit a foul. So no goals, obviously. XG 0.19, 3 total shots, 1 on target, 1 block, 1 big chance missed, and an offside. But Lionel Messi wraps up with an 8.5 on the day with the 2 assists. Rodrigo de Paul is 7.4. Busquets is 7 flat. And you got to cheer on for Rocco Rios Novo in this situation. You had Rocco Rios Novo, who was here in Atlanta. Then he leaves with the crowded keeper situation, goes to Phoenix, wins a championship in the USL. So he wins the USL championship in Phoenix. Then he's picked up by Inter Miami in a logjam at net. I think he even had a couple of matches with Messi and Friends too, while they were trying to sort out Drake Callender and Oscar Ustari. Callender is injured, ends up sitting a lot. Ustari takes over. Then after the 5-goal outburst, I think it was Red Bulls, if memory serves, Ustari sits. Rios Novo goes in and doesn't give it up. Ends up starting for the remainder of the season. And so Rocco ends up between the sticks in the most important match of the season. And he ends up on the other side of it getting an MLS Cup medal. You know, obviously I can't be any happier for Rocco considering his journey. William Yarborough was even on that roster. They had at one time, they think they had 4 keepers. It was Callender before he was dealt to Charlotte, Ustari, Rocco, and William Yarborough. 4 keepers. Callender goes away, you're back to 3. I don't think Yarborough logged any minutes at all. But Rocco Rios Novo ends up in net for Inter Miami down the stretch run, and he's there for the championship. 0.16 xGOT, 3 total saves, goals prevented to the -0.4, saves from inside the 18, all 3. 3 punch clears, 1 high claim. Defensively, 3 clearances, 9 recoveries for Rocco. On the dribble, he had 39 touches. Passing on the day, 21 of 27. 78% passing for Rocco on the afternoon. 3 for 6 in the opposition half, 18 of 21. 86% passing inside his own half, considering what Vancouver wants to do when they're on defense. And 5 of 11 on his long balls on the afternoon. Thomas Mueller was interviewed by Arash Madani from TSN, and here was Thomas Mueller very, very open and honest about the whole season and the process with his time in Vancouver. Caught up with him after the match, once again, courtesy of TSN.
Proud of the boys for sure, but on the other hand also happy is the wrong word, but very positive when I look at our future. Because, yeah, first of all, congrats to Miami. They're great champions, great team, great personalities in the team. But, and here's the but, we gave it away. We gave it away. We were a little bit unlucky with this post. I think it was a triple post in one situation with Sabi. But before and after, in my opinion, we had too many situations. We didn't play the way we could have played it. So the expectations on ourselves from my side are very high, but we are still young and in the process. I think when you look back, Jesper arrived 8 months before I came here, so I'm very young with this group, and also my experience with this group, and now I get to know the boys. They did a great job before I came, and they did an even better job after I joined in. But we have so many things. We want to do better, and we will do better next season. So, I'm already a little bit pumped for the next season. Even I know that's a tough moment because we had so many supporters here. The families were here. Many of our players, they are in the league for more than 1 year, and they wanted it so much, and they deserved it to win it. But in the end, we gave it a bit to them, in my opinion. But that's also a good thing because then it's in our hands, and we will come back stronger next season. I'm very sure that we will do it.
All of the present tense and the positives from Thomas Mueller there. We will, I will, we're young, all of those things that Thomas Mueller is talking about. So Mueller now gets a couple months off. He gets to chill a little bit, get back into playing shape, and then be ready for the 2026 season. Well, I mean, it's more like 6 weeks, but anyway, he gets 6 weeks off before he goes back to training camp. I imagine that he will be, how do we phrase this? He will be lightly engaged in training camp, and it will be Thomas Mueller, a full season of Thomas Mueller and Jesper Sorensen with Vancouver, as Inter Miami is your MLS Cup champ in 2025. Vancouver carries the flag for the Western Conference, and Thomas Mueller is already excited about next season. So really looking forward to that. So they get 6 weeks off before training camp. Well, time to bring in Bart Keeler, starting of hour number 2. And Bart, I guess my first thing that I wanted to discuss, since we're coming out of MLS Cup, is a little bit of reffing. Morning. Is reffing down here with a game like MLS Cup, and you had a you had a crew. Drew Fisher was the man in the middle. When it comes to games of import and navigating them, So I think Bart's trying to work on his sound. He was fine to me. He was perfectly fine to me. I could hear him. So I don't know, Bart. I don't know what happened. I don't know what's going on. I don't know. I have no idea. I have no clue. I'm not hitting a button. Don't hit another button.
It was my internet for some reason. I couldn't hear you. I see everything talking. I was literally watching a YouTube video 2 minutes before I came on, but I could not hear you. So something with free screen was, I don't know.
That was strange. You do sound a little. You sound a little muffled, but I mean that's. I don't know if that's a plug-in or an on switch or a navigable element for the microphone. But I mean, I do hear you, but I didn't know if there was a setting or something.
I have no idea.
Okay. Anyway, all right. So it's a Monday. I get it. I wanted to catch up with you a little reffing down here from MLS Cup. And looking at the number of yellow cards and navigating a match and all these kinds of things, when it comes to a a game of import, how do you and your friends, when you have these conversations about making sure that you let the game be the game, you don't try to override the game, but at the same time, you still want the rules. You still want rules. You still want rules to apply, and you're still calling fouls and things. But how do you navigate the import of the last game of the year or a game that is of massive importance and try not to let it get out of control, considering personalities and all this kind of stuff? How do you navigate an important match to make sure that it doesn't get out of control and you still get desired results when it comes to the field of play?
Well, John, we talked about this a lot, right? We want games to be played fairly and safely. But those are number one and two things that we care about as referees. And to that end, you have to, as a referee crew, have your lines in your head. You will have a discussion beforehand, all pregame between the center and the ARs and probably the VARs and all these people. It's going to be with the goal in mind of having a fair and safe game. Now, that doesn't mean you're not going to say, okay, well, we're going to, like, for example, something that I definitely say at older levels that I'm refereeing, and this is applicable to adult and professional ones. I'm going to hold my whistle a second to just make sure there might not be an advantage. So as my AR, I'll say, so wait to put your flag up as well. Let's make sure that there's absolutely no possible way to get an advantage. Or in the case of the fighting mussies, you might say, look, I'm going to blow my whistle and not give advantage because we know that, the greatest free kick taker of all time is about to line up. And to them, that is the advantage, right? So there are adjustments you're going to make. But I always caution referees not wanting to, quote, impact the match because we're still there with a job to do to help make this match safe and fair. And if you're removing yourself from the match, then you're sacrificing somewhat safe and fair.
You're looking at that balance that is attached to it, and so then that was one of the things that I've always been intrigued about, where the two styles, what they want to do, and then at the same time, that it's a championship, and the book in and of itself, we mentioned the rule book and how flexible it can be, and then you navigate your own personality, making sure that the rule book is still enforced. You want the game to be a showcase. You want it to be a spectacle. You want everything to go well, but at the same time, it's like, guys, yeah, we do have rules, and I still have to implement them, because they were early on in MLS Cup. I think there were a couple of unpopular whistles, and I think an early card on Vancouver, and then an early card, I want to say, on Baltazar Rodriguez. And how do I phrase this? The vocal nature of Messi and friends when they have fouls called upon them in games of import. Do you let that kind of stuff ride, where they're a little mouthy?
Well, John, it doesn't matter, because they let this stuff ride all season long, because these are special boys who have never done anything wrong in their life. I mean, you just gave a made-up trophy to a dude who complains about this stuff all the time. So the problem here is that is not it's a championship game. No. Now, yes, there are times, so I'll give you an example. I had a moment this past weekend where team conceded a goal via a tight offside line. I'm looking at my AR. He's like, no, he was off. I'm like, I agree. It looks off to me. And, it's not my call to make, but I go, well, it looks on to me. Team conceded. They're absolutely sure that this kid happened to be offside. He was in an offside position when he got the ball. And I'm going, he wasn't. But yeah, I'm going to allow them to kind of get a little mad about it, because I get it. You have just given up a tying goal with 3 minutes left to play. That's really frustrating. But as I always say, once we start, we need to leave that in the past. The problem here is every single player on Miami's team is somehow a captain. And by that, I mean, somehow they all believe that they have the right to get in the official space. And I do think that this is something that absolutely needs to be stopped. And it's frustrating every single time that any time a call goes against Miami, bring the referee to the Geneva Convention. He has committed a war crime for the audacity of calling a foul against a curly-haired center back who loves to kick people in the back of the leg. It needs to stop, and MLS and Pro needs to empower the referees to do something, because right now it feels like the referees are screwed. And we've done the whole, you got a captain thing, you can't come in here unless you're the captain. It doesn't matter for them. They're all shrouded in the referee, and it's really, it is something that really bugs me every time I have to watch this stupid little team that's been bought with 18 DPs win, yet complain like somehow the entire system is out to get them. Sorry, I'm in a mood about Miami this morning, because congrats, you won. Let's not pretend like you somehow overcame some great achievement. You bought a damn championship. Congratulations. And all you do the whole time is complain about how the league is against you, because they have the audacity to hold you to some sort of standard. Thing is, the referees did it, right? You got away with controversial. I think it wasn't a penalty. It wasn't a penalty, but you got away with one. And yet you complain every single time there's a call given, to the point where you watch the referee cam and it's nothing but Miami players. The entire referee cam is just Miami players. So that's all that's in this 2-yard radius. It is very frustrating, John. I'm sorry. It was just it was the thing that stuck out to me most about that final. Not decent play, not, wow, Vancouver got unlucky on that first goal because some dude wasn't paying attention well enough. It was all these players from Miami complaining about every single call that happened to maybe go against them.
So then the Maxi Falcone, Ali Ahmed grappling along the end line, would you have just let that go as contact because it seemed to be hand fighting for both and Ahmed eventually goes down? How would you have looked at that?
Okay, so I had this actually discussion with Abby, who texted us. I don't think that was a penalty kick. I don't think there were
Yeah.
a foul in that nature. I don't think it was anything there. There was another. Who was the other guy who got? Oh, I forget his. Was it? I forget the other incident. There was a penalty. I forget the two players. Like that wasn't a penalty either. I think in the hand fighting incident for me, I'm always cautious to blow the whistle when two guys are very clearly okay with the situation that's happening. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And that's kind of what it looked like to me. Is there's some hand fighting, there's some grabbing on both ends, in my opinion. In my opinion. And in that case, I'm just going to go, well, y'all seemed okay with it. So what do you want me to do about it?
Yeah.
Nothing was
And
dangerous.
that's
Let's just put it that way.
right. Yeah. To me, it seemed like it was 50-50 and it was hand fighting and they're just kind of doing their thing.
Yeah.
And Ahmed tries to draw by going down after losing the angle and not having a whole lot of space left. He goes down to try to draw the call from Fisher. But to me, it seemed like it was 50-50 and everything was, you're grabbing, I'm grabbing. Yeah, okay, we're both grabbing. Ahmed sees he's running out of real estate. He goes down. And then it's like, nah. That's me.
And
anyway.
that's the other thing, John, is as a referee, you're going to call a foul if there's a foul, but you don't want to bail someone out because they decided that they all of a sudden now want to be, now I want to foul because, like you said, I ran out of real estate and now I need a foul. That's not how this is supposed to work.
On Friday, I don't know where you were, but I was at a sports bar. Maddie and Jason were at a sports bar. I think a lot of folks had kind of just decided that they were going to maybe take Friday off and have a bit of a 3-day weekend, just kind of, early up. No, okay. Well, the moment has passed. They can't retroactively do anything. So draw comes and it happens. Let's start with the U.S. What did you think of the group that they were drawn into on Friday?
So I think firstly, you have to, as a U.S. fan, take a sigh of a breath and take a sigh of relief because, especially when it comes to the top two teams, you got, I think, the easiest one you probably could have got, right? Specifically, a team that you've already defeated with, at that point, a rotated lineup. I think it's fair to say that starting Haji White and Christian Roldan, while they probably will be on the World Cup squad, is not your best 11, if you will. So pot one got the best team he probably could have wanted. Pot two, Paraguay is a good team. Obviously, we've seen that. Again, I think you drew a team you can beat because you did. And again, did it with a squad not including your best players, right? No Chris Richards, no Christian Pulisic, Weston McKinney's not there, Tim Weah wasn't there. You have a Ricardo Pepi who's still recovering from injury. So you had Balogun and Wright, but you weren't at your full capacity. You still have Jedi Robinson for any of these games. That's a plus, right?
Mm-hmm.
Those two in particular, because we don't know. I can't comment on playoff winner A or whatever if I don't know who that winner is yet. But We'll get to them. Looking at those two, though, you feel really confident. And I think number one, you have to go, okay, we avoided. This sounds bad but I'm allowed to say this as a fan. You avoided a pretty much for sure loss, right? When you look back at Copa America last year, not that it was a 4-4 loss, but the Uruguay match you knew was going to be the match you're like, man, I don't know about that one. I don't know where we get points from that one. That's a tough one. You don't have one of those in this group, luckily. So I think I don't want to say it's easy because no World Cup group is easy, but it is definitely the reality that you have 3 very winnable games. Even if Turkey comes out of that qualification path, that is a winnable game for the U.S., right? Again, we saw them earlier this year, which would be funny if we play 3 opponents in the World Cup that we played in friendlies in 2025. When we saw Turkey, we played all right, with our Gold Cup squad, you know? And so you have to feel confident. You have to feel positive. You know, are they the most marquee matchups ever? No, but you can get that in the round of 32 or the round of 16.
Okay. And there didn't seem to me to be like a group of death, not like we're all four, we're just going to beat the daylights out of each other. I think you got close on a couple of occasions, but there really wasn't a group of death. I think it depends on, path two. Group I, I'm looking at France, Senegal, and Norway. I'm staring at you, not knowing what path two is going to look like from the Interconfederation playoff. Maybe an outside chance at L with England, Croatia, Ghana, and Panama, who can be a certified pain in the butt. Maybe Brazil and Morocco, maybe Scotland if they're, so it's like 2.5 in that group. Was there anything that stuck out to you in the group of death conversation?
Well, let me just say that I think this is the inherent problem with a 7 million team World Cup or whatever we're at this year. When you have 32 teams, yes, there were some teams that got in who were not very good, right? But at 48, there are just the fact there are teams in this World Cup that aren't at that level where you can reasonably call them a contender to get out of the group, right? Then you add into the fact, John, that possibly the top 3 teams of any group could get out.
Mm-hmm.
So when you look at group of death, you always kind of think of, okay, these teams are going to beat up on each other, and maybe they all end with 4 points or something like that, right? Well, in this format, that's probably good enough to get you through.
Yeah.
And so that's the other kind of thing is when it comes to group of death. Okay, I'm looking at group K or L, right? Those are the ones I'm looking at.
Okay.
Possibly group I, but K and L specifically are the ones that I thought, oh, whoa, that's tough. And that's just because group K, Colombia, Portugal. Okay, those are 2 really good teams. If, Colombia beats Portugal, Portugal still has, in my opinion, 2 very, very winnable games after that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Group L, England, Croatia, Ghana, Panama. Ghana, Panama are very good teams. If you're not ready to come play against them, they're going to get a draw or maybe beat you. Okay, but you still possibly have a top 3, or the 3rd place team of that group coming in. So that's the problem with this format. Is group of death to me isn't really a term that you can apply because even Group B with Canada, right? Okay, Canada, Switzerland, you expect to get out, but then you add if Italy makes it through, which there's still Italy, they have to figure out how to do that. You add Italy to that group, all of a sudden, if I'm Canada, you're going, whoa, okay, are we getting out? And the answer is, well, if you beat Qatar, which you should, can you pick up a point in one of the other games and now you're probably through, right? So that's if I'm at any of these teams in a tough group. Try to get 4 points, definitely get a win, and you're probably through to the next round. So that's just my take on the group of death. It's really hard to call it a group of death when there's so much life given by the tournament.
Yeah, and that was one of the things that sticks out. I think, to your point, I think that a win, or 4 points should get you out because they're going to be looking at tiebreakers and things like that. And I figure if you get a win to get you 3 or 4 points, you navigate that somewhere in there, then I think that you're moving on to the next idea. And so there were a couple of groups that were 3 out of 4. You're sitting there going, man, all right. So those are the ones for me that I was staring at. To your point, I, K, and L were the ones that stuck out for me. And I'm going, okay. So there is.
I will say, John, I think of all the host nations, I think we got the one that I feel the group I feel most confident about.
Okay, all right.
Because again, I think all 3 of our matches are winnable. Now Mexico, I think South Africa is an easier team for them. Korea, I don't know. Depends on how they're playing at that point in time. Probably beatable. And then you add Czechia, Denmark, Finland, or Ireland or Macedonia. Like those are all beatable, right? So Mexico probably a little bit easier, but Canada got a very tough group, especially if it's Italy that comes through. But even if it's Wales or Northern Ireland, I wouldn't put it against them. So I do feel Canada right now has one. They have Switzerland of the three host nations group. Switzerland is the one team that you're like, oh, they're actually good. Like they are very good at this sport. Canada, I don't see how they find like just on paper, Canada's not better than Switzerland, right? Is Canada better than Italy? Who knows what Italy is, right? We're assuming they're going to get through. That's not a great assumption because Lord knows they figured out ways to screw it up in the past. Yeah. So maybe they'll get lucky if it's one of the non-Italy teams coming out. But for me, Canada is in the quote group of death when you look at least the host nation, because I don't think they are the best team in that group. Whereas with Mexico and the U.S., I think it's it's a fair assumption or a fair assessment to say, yeah, they're probably the best team in that group.
Okay. Were there any moments from the weekend that stuck out to you? I know that handball seemed to have been front and center with a lot of different things. I know in the Brighton match, you had a handball situation inside the 18, and it was a shot, a rebound, and then a goal, but a handball was in the middle. You had a call in TCU and FSU with Amin Hadzic where folks were screaming about handball. What sticks in your head from all of those people raising their hands in the air like they did care and trying to get a penalty called this weekend?
Should we go to the college game, John? I think this one's the most controversial of all of them, so I'm going to be real honest.
Go for it. Yeah,
maybe
go for it. Yep, go for college.
So if you weren't watching the Women's College Cup this past weekend, Florida State and TCU met in a very, very fun to watch semifinal, I will say. Final is tonight. We'll see. It's another rematch, basically. This is fun for you. I know John will be watching and cheering on, and hopefully for you, I hope you end the game with some satisfaction.
Me and Abby both, yes.
Abby also watching, yeah. A couple other Florida State folks in the Atlanta United fandom, so good luck to you. TCU fighting for an equalizer toward the end. John, when I first saw this, I went, oh, that's not a handball. The more I saw of it, I went, oh, that's a handball.
Oh.
And the reason is, and I love this explanation, is that I think in theory, you say, oh, well, her arms are kind of behind her because her arms kind of stretch out behind her, right? Also kind of making her body bigger because her body then is expanded out past the natural silhouette behind her, if that makes sense. Yeah, John's going to play.
Okay, so like this, but what you're doing
but
is
her arms weren't tucked behind her; they were outstretched behind her.
Like you're doing the ski jumping bit, and you're trying to do the telemark, and you're like this way.
Yes.
Okay.
So when you look at it from that front profile, you go, "Oh no, her hands weren't outside the natural frame of her body." When you look at it from a side profile, but her arms were more out.
Okay. Got
really
it.
out.
Yeah.
It hits her in a spot that is outside the natural frame of the body. And we don't judge intent, but the action she's taking is an action to defend a shot.
Mm-hmm.
It hits her in a non-playable part of the arm.
Mm-hmm.
It's right at the elbow joint. I think this probably could have been given a penalty kick, and I don't think Florida State would have had any real reason to complain.
Okay.
I'm not saying TCU got hosed. That's not what I'm saying. I do think there's a lot of bias against the Big 12 in these scenarios, but that's just someone who's a Big 12 fan. But it did kind of feel like the controversy was justified. Okay. I don't understand fully why, when this went to video review, they did not go, oh yeah, that's a handball. In live action, I totally understood. Like when I watched it, I went, no, that's not really handball. Then you watch the replay, you go, oh, maybe it is. And then you see another angle or two, you go, ooh, yeah, that's a handball. I think they got it a little wrong. That's just my opinion. I do.
Okay. Yeah, because that particular call was drawing a lot of vitriol on social media. Folks saying that yes, that the man in the middle, Amin Hadzic, had no business being a center ref, and I mean, and this is where we post our warning in these kinds of situations on social media. We know what it's there for. We know what it does.
Yep.
Dial it back. Take a breath before you start banging away at 280 characters and calling for folks' livelihoods. Perspective. Take a breath. Go for context. And respectfully disagree. This is not where you're taking a verbal Molotov cocktail and a pipe bomb and throwing it at folks. This is not the time. That is not the situation. There really is no situation to lob a verbal pipe bomb on social media. But I saw folks doing that, and I'm like, y'all need to go touch some grass.
Oh, and I think also, John, here's the overarching theme with VAR and how it is different in soccer than a lot. Was this a clear and obvious error?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, maybe.
Yeah, because
Again, the call in the field was no handball infraction, therefore no penalty kick.
Mm-hmm.
Did the evidence clearly show that? I am not here to say that, right? Because that is for you to decide as the jury at home. That obviously you're going to make that up in your mind. But I will just say that when it comes to clear and obvious, I can see why there were some things that did not make this clear or obvious that it was an error.
Okay.
But the Big 12 got it.
Yeah. Yes, of course. So what is the week looking like for the Soccer for US POD, my friend?
We're recording tonight to talk about the U.S. men draw for the World Cup, and also hopefully talking a little bit about our U.S. women and how they dominated Italy in a set of friendlies against the Euro semifinalists. And everyone's been talking to me about how, or talking online about how the U.S. is down, and they had a BBC listing of best players in the world, and our best player was 24th and was Emily Fox, who's the best right back in the WSL. So I don't know how that squares with BBC, but basically the U.S. is down and terrible, yet we're dominating a Euro semifinal. But okay, John, I guess whatever makes them sleep well at night over across the pond. Which they're also pissed about start times for a World Cup. So who knows what as if we haven't had to wake up stupid hours to watch World Cups before because they need to have their precious little prime time. By the way, it's not our fault, England, that your pubs don't stay openly. That is a you problem. You want to come over here and yell at us about our freedoms, that's on you. Tell your people to stay open later. Just because your pubs close at 9 p.m. or whatever is not enough problem. We're out partying until 3 a.m. here in Atlanta. Mm-hmm. Come on over and have some fun. Or you can stay home in England and complain about not being able to watch a game at the pub because yours doesn't stay open past it. That sounds like a problem, not enough.
Oh, boy. Yeah, that's going to be a fun one. As always, my friend, great to see you. Thanks for walking us through stuff. And we will catch up with you. And I know that some of us might be watching a game tonight at 7 o'clock on the U, but we'll figure it out. Be safe, my friend. We'll catch up with you. And obviously, when the door is open and you want to kick it in.
Talk to you later.
All right. There goes Bart, everybody. All right. It is that time where it is pushing 10:30 Eastern. And today, in two separate cities in the state of Florida, we have championship games. We have championship games in the NAIA. And at 3 o'clock Eastern time, it is Grandview of Iowa taking on the number 11 seeded WVU Tech. And for me, I was trying to figure out, just if I tried to say the whole thing out long ways, West Virginia University Tech, it was going to take a while. And so, it sounded kind of clunky. And so for me, it ended up with WVU Tech, and I just went ahead and just said it that way because it's incredibly easier just to do it that way. And so we have a game coming up, and you can watch it off of the NAIA website. You can go to the Urban Edge Network as well. And you can catch the women's final. You can catch the women's soccer final coming up 3 o'clock this afternoon. Eastern time. Grandview of Iowa, WVU Tech, the 11 out of West Virginia, joining us after breakfast, I imagine. And he's had his coffee, he's had his breakfast, probably had a walkthrough. Time to catch up with David Groves, the head coach at Grandview. And it is great to see you on a match day. Thanks for dropping by.
Yeah, John, thanks for having me on. Yeah, I mean, a lot of last minute prep this morning and different things, but we try to get most of that handled last night so we could kind of relax and enjoy our morning a little bit.
Can you relax and enjoy your morning on a match day?
It's it's more at night. I think so. The hardest part, I think, for me during this stretch is, right, you're in the hotel now for, I think this is our 10th night, right, at this tournament. And so, and everybody knows you always miss your own bed a little bit, right? So and then at my age now, when you're 38, you can't eat 4,000 carbs, right? You can't eat 4,000 calories, right? And eat a bunch of pasta constantly. So you just kind of get into this routine and this lifestyle, but we push through it. And to be honest, I'm really not that nervous because I feel just so good about where we're at as a group. And to be honest, one-off game. But honestly, I feel really good about our matchup today.
So what has study hall been like getting ready for WVU Tech in this matchup? What are you seeing in this matchup this afternoon?
Yeah, so it's basically, if you look at the tournament as a whole, as 16 teams, it's almost like the most high-powered offense versus the high-powered defense, right? And so with us, I mean, we put a lot of, on our back line's shoulders. We don't really ever change shape for anyone. I mean, we make some adjustments, like Georgia Gwinnett, for example, play a 3-5-2, and instead of us getting conservative and dropping our wingers too far back, we just make our fullbacks work harder and rotate, ball side pressure. Other guy goes around, tucks in, and they buy into that, so they do the work of like multiple people. They're not afraid to be 1v1. And up top too, we press very aggressively, but for the most part, it's just kind of making the tweaks within our system. They have high power. Some of their front threes numbers are just out of this world for a college soccer season, but we really, really back our guys in terms of like winning those one-on-one matchups.
Yeah, and so when you get into a week like this, when you're away from home, I know that you have your setups and it's like, okay, I know we got to go into this room. We can do this. We can watch tape. We can do this. How difficult is it to study on the road when you don't have all of the stuff at home that you're used to studying with? I mean, you can't pack like a Mayflower moving van with everything that's there and take it down to Alabama to study, can you?
Yeah, I mean, and two areas of study, we keep talking about is like, the boys have finals this week too. So there's this element of like, you just go mobile for 10 days and you figure it out. Like we've done film where the conference room wasn't available. So we brought them in small groups and stuck an HDMI cord to a TV and did film that way. So there's always, you just make it work, right? And so there's a lot of coordinating, there's a lot of planning, but luckily my staff helps a lot with that as well. I'm not gonna lie, and so, but yeah, it's very much you just kind of make do as is type thing.
When for those that may not know, you're in the Heart of America Conference, and it's a bunch of 15-round heavyweight fights because you've got number 13 Baker is a part of your schedule. Number 2 Mid-American Nazarene at the time is a part of your schedule. Number 25 Missouri Valley is a part of your schedule. Number 16 William Penn is a part of your schedule. For those that don't know, how much of a heavyweight fight is it knowing that you have all of these ranked teams there that you're chasing after just so you can get into a postseason tournament? You survive the regular season playing 4 or 5 ranked teams within your own conference. Then you go into the conference tournament, survive that, and then you go into a postseason. How much of a knockdown dragout is your conference that you've got to navigate to get into a postseason?
Oh yeah, I mean it's the best conference in the NAIA. I mean, I know there's different debate in terms of sometimes the Mid-South and a few other conferences like to take that title or try to take that claim, but I think you see the success in the postseason of NAIA, of Heart of America teams, year after year. I mean, William Penn and MNU unfortunately had to play each other in the last 8. One of them had to knock each other out, and that kind of has seemed like a theme. I mean, the commissioner was telling me, I can't remember the numbers, but it's almost like every year but one, in the last 10 years, there's been a representative of the Heart in the final. And so, I think the biggest advantage for us in the regard you're saying with like knockout heavyweight battle is that you're so ready for competition when you get into these bigger games. Like, some of these teams, when we play them, like maybe this is like their 3rd big game they've had this season, or 3rd massive game. Well, we're on our 9th, so there's this element of, I think, like readiness, composure. You're used to different styles of play because in the Heart, it's so diverse. You've got William Penn, who are masters of pressing, winning first balls, recovering second balls. I mean, the energy level that they exert is unbelievable, right? And then you go and play MNU, and they play a 4-3-1-2 diamond, and they're really possession oriented. And so you see kind of all different styles of the game at a very good level, and it just helps prepare you for competition further down the line.
Chasing after a national championship on the men's side in the NAIA, yes, proper hydration in the morning. That is always key. It is Grandview taking on WVU Tech, 3 o'clock this afternoon on the men's side in the NAIA. I was trying to do the math, and for me, on a Monday morning, it's kind of difficult under normal circumstances. But I think you're dealing with, a dozen different countries or somewhere in that neighborhood when it comes to places of birth for your roster. And yes, transfers and portaling and things like that,
Mm-hmm.
Can have a bit of a knowledge base for these folks when it comes to the American soccer landscape. But
Yeah.
how difficult is it for you to navigate all of these different nationalities coming in under one roof? Because I can probably guarantee you that for every country that they were raised in, they've got a philosophy and a mindset about how they want to do things artistically and within their own set system between the ears. How difficult is it for you and the staff to navigate all these different nationalities to have them do what you want them to do systemically so you can be as successful as you can be?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think, like, for us, you know, my mentor and the coach who brought me up, at Chad Wiseman at Western Michigan, was always very he's just a very blue collar man, and so I was always um I do believe in, like, hard work. I mean, first and foremost, I think high character leads to high achievement. I think those for me are just kind of like two staples. Is you need hard work, you need high character, high achievement. Then after that, you kind of work together a game plan. And so we do have, we always say our base is Iowa. We do have, I think, one, two, three Iowa guys in our starting 11, right? And they are blue collar, right? Um, and then after that, with the other guys, it's just about getting that buy-in, and also knowing that the college game is different. There's no doubt about that. I mean, it is direct at moments. It is physical, right? And I think the difficult part sometimes for players to understand is, like, you're not going to get 5-6 seconds on the ball to be able to try to do what you want. You're going to have someone trying to slam into you, as quick as they can. And so you have to get used to playing at such an intense speed and being able to produce what you have technically under that intense speed. And so usually the guys I think that have the most success with that, we do get a lot of transfers, right? That have kind of understood that, they've seen it, they've been through it. But with regards to the blending of them together, I think a lot of that is more, it's easy when they're all high character guys, right? They enjoy each other's company. They enjoy, the joking with each other, learning about different cultures, teasing like each other in a good way. Like, I think it adds just kind of a unique flavor for everybody when you've got these guys from just all over with different stories.
So then you mentioned just the high rate of speed that you have to be at mentally on the field.
Hmm.
How difficult is it, or how much of an adjustment was it for you and the staff to think at 78 RPMs and to have to kind of think about that as the game's going on in front of you, with the game being what it is, and you're sitting there going, okay, I've got to think 2 or 3 moves ahead here. Is it like that kind of Vulcan chess thing, or how quickly does your brain have to adjust to something like this?
Yeah, and I think that's what's so tough with this tournament in general is the turnaround time of games is 48 hours, right?
Mm.
So you have to have this kind of, I mean, you're obviously in the moment winning the match, but in the back of your mind also is like, well, we're 48 hours away. This guy's body can probably take 50, 60 minutes, right? This guy's body can probably take maybe 40, 50. And so you do have this element of like, it's thinking in the now but also thinking in the future. We do a lot of like pre-planned rotations, especially within our attacking players. I mean, defensive players we really just kind of take out if there's an emergency type of situation or a big tactical move. But I always say in college soccer is like, kids get so torn up on who's starting, who's not starting. And the reality is, I always say, is like, it's more about your total minutes at the end of the day. That's how you've been basically judged in your performance. Now, if you start, you could play 27 minutes, right? But you can come off the bench and check back in still in the NAIA and you can play 60 minutes. And so it's all about, like, we basically run through about 15, 16 guys every game. And I think that, some of it is determined on where their bodies are currently at. But, to be able to continue playing that high pressing way, you really need fresh bodies and fresh legs and people willing to do it.
And to that point, you've got 14 different goal scorers this year. Even just putting one on the board, you've got 14 different players that have done it. And I know that a lot of folks that might be drifting into the game at 3:00 Eastern time, they're going to be staring at probably a shiny object like Justin Figueroa, who's your only double-digit goal scorer, which I thought was really interesting. Justin's got 13. Everybody else from Tim Scorlemer all the way down is like 7 and all the way down to 1. So you've got 13 other dudes that have scored but haven't gotten to double digits. And then obviously Justin, who's got 13. What's it like to have that kind of balance, which speaks to what you were just talking about pre-programming 50 or 60 here, subbing in, making an impact in 20 or 30, that kind of a thing?
Yeah. I mean, and for sure, Justin is the shiny object up top. But the best part about Justin is, like, if you watch us play, I mean, he's the first one to initiate our press, right? He's the one to chase down loose balls. He'll fight and battle for 50-50 balls. So he does so much off the ball as well. He gets heavy minutes. He can take that. He came through, not PSV, but the other club in Eindhoven's youth academy. So he has like an excellent mentality. I mean, he's just called up actually to the Aruban national team and got his first cap. So he's pretty pumped about that. But yeah, I mean, we just kind of know that on any given day, like another guy can step up. Justin has been that guy probably that stepped up than anyone else. But at the end of the day, I mean, yeah, Tim could step up. Herman scored the game win for us the other day. Pietro, who was up and down regular season with injuries, scored a great goal against Bethel. And so, we just kind of feel like at any given day, based on a number of factors, we've got about 5-6 guys that can really just be the guy that makes a difference.
I think someone invaded your headset there briefly. But one
Oops,
other
sorry.
thing. No, you're good.
Yeah.
one other question I've got for you.
Mhm.
What have you learned about yourself in this tournament where you're a week away from home and you've had to go up against coming in as unseeded, not in the top 16? You knock off Indiana Wesley in the 16. You knock off number 1 Bethel. Then you knock off number 9 Georgia Gwinnett, who we obviously follow in this footprint with head coach Steve DeCoux and what they're able to do in the CAC, and then knocking off Cumberland's. What have you learned about yourself knocking off all of these seeded teams, including the number 1 overall seed, working your way out of the left-hand side, the upper left-hand side of the bracket?
Yeah, and just as you mentioned, Steve too. I mean, he's that program. Georgia Gwinnett has so much. Like, I was so impressed with how Steve and those boys handled themselves. Like, just as kind of a side note, as you mentioned, that like being in that area. I mean, I really was impressed with them, not only as a team, but like they were really high character kids too. In terms of learning about myself, I really in this hotel, but also throughout this season, I've really learned the importance of like squad dynamics, and meaning that that sometimes the most talented team isn't always the best team, right? And I think as a college recruiter in the past, I always tried to. This year was kind of the first year I did this, where we looked a lot into people's personalities and their backgrounds and how they are as people. How many times they've been selected as captains on their teams, all the way back through high school, right? Were these guys that other people were seeing as leaders? Because, you can have a talented team and, if the 21st guy on the bench, maybe he's a talented player, but if he's like a disruptor and he influences 2 or 3 other guys, then those 2 or 3 other guys can disrupt things as well. And so when you have these high character guys, like our goalkeeper, for example, our second keeper, he was a starter at Canisius Division I. Unfortunately, he lost the job to Lewis. Lewis is probably going to go on to be a first-team All-American, right? But like, just his professionalism, positivity, just in general, like the character of the people within the group makes the group stronger. And I've seen that more so than anything. It's a lesson that I've learned of like dive into that stuff always, even if it's extra work for me in terms of recruiting. It's gonna always be about finding people who are the right people, and that's kind of who we are this season. It's just a group of high character individuals.
You realize, of course, I don't know if you're ritualistic or superstitious or whatever, but you realize, of course, if you win at 3:00 Eastern time today, you're going to have to come back on tomorrow.
Yeah, I mean, that's totally fine. I think we'll be in an airport, and I'm happy to talk there. But no, I'm not overly superstitious person. I just kind of, at this point, I'm like, I trust the guys, and it's more about just, let's make sure we have no regrets at the end of the day, and we can all go in the locker room and be proud of ourselves, and we already are proud of ourselves, and our whole community's proud of us, but it's like one last time to kind of put the cherry on top,
Grandview University coming out of the upper left in your brackets as you follow along in Penn, chasing after WVU Tech, 3:00 Eastern time this afternoon. And how's the weather going to be in Orange Beach today? Is it going to be as crappy as it was at points last week?
Yeah, it's actually probably the nicest day it's been in a week. It was kind of cold and rainy, and now it's the sun's out. So saw dolphins for my first time this morning, so that was really cool. Kind of, if we're superstitious, maybe I have to sign. But
There you go.
Yeah, it was very much. No, it's a beautiful day today. It's the best day we've had since we got here. So
good deal. Go to the NAIA.org, go to the Urban Edge Network, follow along, watch at 3:00 this afternoon Eastern time. Grandview and WVU Tech chasing after the men's title as they're trying to get that big red banner and take it back to Grandview. Coach, thanks for dropping by, especially on short notice. I probably have monopolized a lot of tape time this morning and getting everybody to know about Grandview as they're chasing after a title. Thanks for dropping by the morning show. Don't be a stranger.
All right. Awesome, John. Thank you.
There goes David Groves, head coach at Grandview. And once again, men's title game, 3 o'clock this afternoon, Eastern time. Grandview, WVU Tech. And on the women's side, it is Kaiser and Cumberlands of Kentucky. That one is at 1 Eastern in Pensacola. Same thing. Go to NAIA.org, and you can watch the championship game on the women's side at 1. When that one's over, you can flip over and watch the one on the men's side with Grandview and WVU Tech. That one is going to break itself down at 3 o'clock this afternoon. So feel free to watch. And like I said, if you win, that means you're coming back on. So hopefully, if we've given the SDH bump to Grandview of Iowa, the Vikings, then they can come back tomorrow when they're in the airport and drop by and visit, maybe in the 10 o'clock hour or something like that. So that's your championship rundown for your Monday. And Coach Groves mentioned Chad Wiseman, the longtime head coach at Western Michigan, and a longtime coach at Western Michigan, and he has been there 12 seasons. Named Mid-American Conference Coach of the Year twice and Missouri Valley Coach of the Year in 23, their inaugural season in the Valley. And Wiseman has developed a Mac Hermann Trophy finalist, forward and player of the year, defensive player of the year, 2 keepers of the year, 3 MLS Super draft picks, collegiate coaching career in the MAC, recruited and developed a trophy semifinalist, 5 MLS Super draft picks, and 1 MAC player of the year. So that's Chad Wiseman and what that he has been able to build at Western Michigan, as David Groves is now at Grandview. This is the morning show, and thanks for dropping by, as you always do. And we've always thought that it was kind of cool and interesting when we get to do those kinds of stories, and we get to and literally, here's how that worked. Here's how this kind of goes. Sometimes I will get a wild hair. And I think that when it comes to championships in general, I think it's always important, regardless of level, that we should look at the championships and treat them all equally. It's a championship, and it means a lot to a lot of folks. Could be in Division I, where it could be Furman, where we're looking at a guy like Braden Dunham. Could be what's going on tonight on the women's side with Florida State. KCD is going to be on the call with Jen Hildreth for that one. She was finishing up the World Sevens with Jess Charman and Carmen Belkeen. And yesterday, trying to get out of South Florida, she ends up getting to St. Louis. And if you follow her on social media, you'll notice that when she got to Lambert, that didn't quite work out so well. So she's trying to get from St. Louis on a hop flight to Kansas City so she can call the last game of the year on the women's side tonight with Jen Hildreth. Jen hopefully can join us next week and discuss everything in WSL and everything college. Jason should be have the pump primed and ready Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Next week I'm out because of high school football. I'll be back next Thursday, but Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Jason will have the con. Or someone will have the con Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. And also Wednesday this week, because it's our pre-day to get everybody acquainted at Mercedes-Benz. So that's me this week and next week. Kind of chaotic, but the guests kind of line up themselves. But KCD, she is penciled in for Tuesday and Friday. We don't know which direction she's going to be. Hopefully she will make it from St. Louis to Kansas City, maybe just rent a car at this point and go across the state, unless that's completely and totally unadvisable. And she'll be there tonight. Jen Hildreth and KCD on the call. We've got Chris Doran coming in at 9:15 tomorrow morning to discuss Wilfred Nancy, MLS, Columbus Crew, and all the things. KCD has the 10 o'clock hour. We've got her penciled in. Obviously, we're going to catch up with some coaches in the NAIA. Remember, Kaiser and Cumberlands is the women's final. We'll try to catch up with the winner there and have them on tape tomorrow. Thank you, Abby. It's a 4-hour drive. So winner on the women's side, hopefully catch up with them. If Coach Groves wins with Grandview, hopefully we can catch up with them. We do have a bolo out at WVU Tech in case they win as well. It's a historic season for them, by the way. I think it's the first time they were ever in a Final Four. So when we have championship games that pop up, regardless of division, regardless if we're talking pro or college, I've always thought it was cool to kind of open those doors and find out what's going on in a hotel room in Orange Beach and a hotel room in Pensacola, Florida, and find out when you're chasing championships what it means. I'll tell you, so don't know who FSU and TCU were. I think Jen was play-by-play, and I don't know who was color. I'll have to go back and listen to the highlights because that was another thing that I debated was running highlights from the semifinals and running it this morning, but we kind of took that into we took it into our own account with the one call and the handball and all that stuff. So, like I said, when it comes to championship games, I've always thought that they should be treated equally regardless of division. And so we had a window. Literally, I was like, okay, what do I want to do? Oh, that's right. The championship games in the NAIA are on Monday. So I'm just blasting emails out to sports information directors. And it's like, hey, we want to have them on. And Grandview was like, yeah, dial it up. Let's go. And so that's how we were able to catch up with Coach Groves after breakfast while he's having coffee, getting ready for the last night in a hotel room for like 10 days in staring at the Gulf. So I've always thought it was important for championships to be treated as championships if it worked out on our schedule or if I had enough forethought to have something like that happen. So thanks to our friends at Grandview for turning the page really quickly, answering a wild email from a host in Atlanta, and then having them on a morning show. Okay, let's take the tour really quickly and get you through the other news that is here. Interesting thing over the weekend, and we're chasing this story as well, and hopefully we can have someone from The Guardian on to discuss. The Guardian has had a couple of stories recently involving Brighton and Hove Albion owner Tony Bloom. Over the weekend, reporters and photographers were barred from the Amex over the stories that they posted late last week. Club notified The Guardian Saturday to say it felt it, quote, would be inappropriate for journalists and photographers from The Guardian to be accredited to matches at the Amex starting from Sunday's game against West Ham, end quote. Following reports in The Guardian that have raised questions from MPs about the activities of Tony Bloom, a billionaire who's made his money from gambling. It's a lot of gambling. Guardian revealed last week, to catch you up, that Bloom, the majority shareholder at Brighton, is being sued in a lawsuit that alleges, quote, frontmen were sometimes used when his gambling syndicate placed bets on sports events. Details were set out in a public document at High Court, which named George Cottrell, a close associate of Nigel Farage, as one person who acted as a front for the collective known as the Star Lizard Betting Syndicate. The case involves a dispute between Bloom and Ryan Dudfield, a former associate, who claims he's owed a share of gambling profits. Syndicate makes about £600 million pounds a year in winnings, the document alleges. Bloom has yet to file a defense to the lawsuit, didn't respond to questions about the claim. Lawyers acting for Cottrell will approach for comment. Then Friday, a follow-up, and this is when we reached out to The Guardian to try to see if they could walk us through this at some point in the near future. Guardian publishes a second story focusing on allegations Bloom could be an anonymous gambler behind $70 million in winnings, which allegedly included bets on his football teams. And that's a major no-no. Bloom declined to comment about this specific claim. Through a source made clear he denied betting on his own teams or competitions that involved them, describing any such allegations as entirely false. So following that publication of that story by The Guardian on Friday, Bloom publicly says this, quote, I can categorically assure our supporters that I have not placed bets on any Brighton and Hove Albion matches since becoming the owner of the club in 2009. MPs have said the matters need to be properly examined. Clive Betts, chair for the All-Party Parliamentary Group on Football, said Friday the FA needed to conduct a thorough and comprehensive investigation, and others have commented on it as well. If you want to parse through the choice of pronoun that Bloom used, I have not placed bets. That was key to me in those three sentences, in those three lines. I can categorically assure our supporters that I have not placed bets. That's what I looked at when I looked at the statement that was released. It just said I. Didn't say anything about anybody else. Just said I. Food for thought. We mentioned Mo Salah. He's hot at his club. And it looks like it's going to be a very, very truncated tenure. Might be maybe another month before the move, possibly to Saudi Arabia, or does he just sit on the bench? But at the same time, you know you're going to want something for it. He has avoided disciplinary action, according to our friends at Sky, even though he has been left out of the Champions League squad to face Inter Milan No disciplinary action over the comments. Once again, the whole thrown under the bus thing. Trained on Monday, not traveling. To recap that. Understood his absence is a club decision taken in consultation with and with the full support of Arne Slot. Also understood there's a belief, according to Sky, a period away from selection is in the best interest of the player, the squad, and the club at this time. Protect the asset. Started on the bench the last 3 matches, 5 goals, 18 appearances. And so at 1:45 this afternoon local time, Arne Slot is supposed to speak to the media ahead of the game on Monday, where more is supposed to be revealed about the future. So there's that we all get to keep an eye on later this afternoon. So let me look at the numbers and what happened this past weekend. In the Premier League, we do have the one match coming up this afternoon, Monday Night Football. It's Wolves in Manchester. And you'll probably have a 3D after this from our buddy Drew Dickinson. And it was good to see Drew Friday at Brew House to discuss the Three Lions approach after the draw. Manchester United a -164, Wolves a +422 at Molineux. Considering that the Wolves are dead last, they are 0-2-12, 2 draws in the 14 matches to start, 7 goals scored in 14 matches. They've given up 29, so it's over 2 and only scored a half. That's commonly classified as not good. So this past weekend, looking at results, Crystal Palace beats Fulham 2-1. Brighton and West Ham a 1-1 draw on a goal late. Leeds and Liverpool 3-3 chaos. It was the late game on Saturday. Bournemouth, Chelsea goalless draw. Everton shuts out Nottingham Forest 3-0. Same score Manchester City over Sunderland. Newcastle over Burnley 2-1 as a big favorite. Spurs at home over Brentford as a plus side favorite at a +147. That was 2-0. Villa over Arsenal by the final of 2-1 at a +330. And then you had the action in the midweek. So Villa wins, Spurs win, Newcastle wins, Manchester City and Everton win big. Bournemouth, the draw. Leeds, 6-goal draw with Liverpool. Brighton, 2-goal draw with West Ham. Crystal Palace wins. That gets us to Monday Night Football. So the standings with the win that you had with Manchester City, Arsenal, with their loss, now only 2 points ahead of Manchester City through 15. Villa's at 30 points. They've won 5 in a row. Crystal Palace is at 26 points, and they are in 4th. Chelsea right now is in 5th at 25. Everton 24, and then the chaos continues. You literally have 7 through 12 separated by 1 point. 6 teams, 1 point. Brighton, Sunderland, Liverpool, all at 23 points. Goal difference makes the difference 7, 8, 9. Spurs, Newcastle, Manchester United with a match in hand at 22 points. Manchester United wins today as they should. They will rocket up to 6th in the table from 12th, but then you'll have, once again, 5 teams separated by 1 point. 23 and 22 right now. Bournemouth at 20 points in 13th. They've lost 3 of 5 before the draw this past weekend. Brentford at 19 points. They've lost 3 of 4. Fulham at 17 points. They've lost 2 in a row. Leeds, 15 points. They've got 1 in each column the last 3. They're at -10 in goal difference, 1 ahead of Nottingham Forest, who's lost 2 of 3. And right now in the relegation zone, West Ham, who has drawn 3 of 4, which is strange, is at 13 points. Burnley's at 10. They've lost 5 in a row. Wolves have lost 5 in a row, and they're 0-2-12 with the match in hand coming today. So that's the rundown of all of that. So what to watch, where to watch it, how to watch it. Obviously, you got the final tonight, Stanford and Florida State in the Women's College Cup final. Super League tonight, Besiktas Gaziantep is at noon on BN. You can get BN and BN in Espanol at Fanatis, fntz.co/soccer down here. And you can watch and get, let's see, CDO Nuestro Tele for the fans, TVV. You can get all the Brasileiro. You can get Liga 1 Max Pro, which gets you into more South American soccer there. You have the BNs, and you have our friends at TIC. All of that at Fanatis, fntz.co/soccer down here helps them out at Fanatis, helps us out here at the network, helps you out adding more leagues that you might not have been watching until just now. USA has Monday Night Football, Wolves and Manchester United being on Espanol simulcasting Super League. ESPN Deportes has Monday Night Football in La Liga, Osasuna and Levante. Fox Deportes, Serie A at noon, Udinese and Genoa. The Plus has Osasuna and Levante. Fox Soccer Plus Serie B, Bari and Pescara at 11:15. So in about 10 minutes. Then Wolves and Manchester United, NBCSports.com. Triple header on Paramount Plus. Pisa Parma ended this morning. Udinese, Genoa, and Torino and Milan is at 2:45. On the U is where the Stanford Florida State game is. It's 7 o'clock tonight. Once again, that's Jen Hildreth and KCD. So that's where all of that stuff is here today. Let me say hi to everybody before we get out of here, and we'll rock and roll. Morning, Alex. Morning, David. Glad you survived the trip to Raleigh. Morning, Ricky. And yes, it was definitely a hybrid story. Michael, morning to you. And yes, on the hydration breaks as well. So regardless of weather or site, you're going to have hydration breaks. That's just weird. You're indoors, climate-controlled environment, you're going to have a hydration break. I guess that's a way probably to insert a commercial break maybe. Just kind of do the side-by-side, pull back the action on the field, get your side-by-side box going. You get your commercial break in there, 30 seconds in, pull the commercial out, go full. Hey, we're sitting in the hydration break. What's going on? So morning, David. And let's see. So let's see. Morning, David. Morning, Dell. And Dell sent me the grid for the activity in Atlanta. Thank you for that. You were getting it faster than I was. And then David, in our MVP discussion in baseball, Murphy MVP votes and finishes much more impressive to his peers than Kent. Was he elite compared to his peers? Never felt Kent was. Murphy certainly was. Agree. And so, yes, Ebbetsfield flannels is where I got these. So, yeah, I've got my Chargers one that I wore yesterday, and I've got my LA Aztecs that I wore today. They had a run on minor league baseball, and so bought that out. But once again, hey, with shipping, when it was 73% off, including shipping costs, I'm like, yep, diving in. And that was not going to be any kind of debate there as well. So morning, Hutch. Glad you could make it in this morning. Abby was at Fido on Friday. Tented it. And Walker Zimmerman was there. Only VIPs could actually go into Fido. Did not know that. And, I did not know that. But, yeah, Brew House was crazy. Bench warmers in Decatur, and we can't thank them enough. And can't thank Decatur Watch Fest enough for letting us tell the story there in Decatur before everything lit up at 11:30. Everybody, it was a full house. They were watching the draw. So don't be surprised if we end up going to a couple of different places, including Brew House, whether that is the one on Moreland or the one that is going to be developed in Sodo, South Downtown. So when it comes to June and July, we'll be all over the place. Trust me. Abby, thanks to you as well. Have a marvelous, and actually, you probably are more accurate. A marvelous Mom Day. Absolutely true. So back at it again tomorrow. Once again, KCD is in pencil. Our winners in the NAIA are in pencil. We might have to tape those later this afternoon. And Chris Doran from the Columbus Crew radio play-by-play voice, he is going to join us tomorrow. We're going to talk about Major League Soccer. We're going to talk about Wilfred Nancy and his transfer over to Celtic and what happened in the first match. We'll play sound from Wilfred Nancy and after his first post-match press conference. Celtic was thumped by Hearts. Chris made an observation. It reminded me that I should reach out to Chris to talk about things. So Chris Doran's going to join us at 9:15 tomorrow. Hopefully the NAIA coaches will be joining us at 10, or we'll have them on tape to break down everything as they're in airports. And we'll talk about all of that tomorrow, plus news. Get you ready for Champions League. Tonight, 8 o'clock, it is soccer over there with the cast of crazies and you as well. So it's going to be yet another big week here on SDH. Wednesday, it is going to be a standard fare, Tyler Dillon, and we're going to catch up with our friends in Vancouver, find out how their 2026 infrastructure is going. They have an event today that we're going to talk about with them tomorrow, and then we're going to have it on the show on Wednesday. So Vancouver continues our series of all of the host cities and how they're progressing as they're getting ready for the World come June and July. Thursday, Glenn Davis is going to join us off the top, Nino and Nico in the Power Hour. That's going to be 10 and 10:30. And then Friday, if KCD can't join us from an airport, then she can join us from being back home on Friday. See if we can catch up with our friends at Beyond Goals Mentoring, get you ready for the weekend. And we'll try and prep you for the NCAA championship on the men's side as well, probably tracking down Braden Dunham and Furman and the rest of the semifinalists as they get ready for the big weekend there as well. So that is another big week here at SDH AM. Thanks for hanging out with us as you always do. Since it is the end of the show, thanks to all of you for dropping by as you do. Means I get to do this. Mucha Platiel, play it safe. See you less than 22. Back at it again for Tuesday Thoughts. Chris Dorn going to bat leadoff tomorrow at 9:15. Talking Wilfred Nancy crew in MLS. Mucha Platiel, play it safe. We'll see you tomorrow.